if I told you that the scent of an essential oil could help unlock emotions you didn't even know were trapped in your body? That aromatherapy could be so much more than a pleasant smell. It could be a pathway to profound emotional healing and transformation. Welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. Today I'm joined by Julie from Little Brown Bottles to explore emotional aromatherapy, a powerful modality that combines essential oils with talking therapy to help people access and release stuck emotions. Julie's personal journey is remarkable, from using essential oils to support her through antidepressant withdrawal to maintaining over 5 years of sobriety. These plant medicines became her constant companion through life's biggest challenges. But her story doesn't stop there. She's now helping others heal chronic conditions like asthma through beautiful combinations of scent, breath, and emotional release. In this episode, you'll discover how emotional aromatherapy works with your limbic brain, where emotions are stored. Why certain scents can unlock memories and feelings you thought you'd processed, and how unprocessed emotions can manifest as physical illness in our bodies. Whether you've only experienced aromatherapy as relaxing background scents, or are curious about alternative approaches to emotional healing, or even wondering how plants might support your wellness journey, this conversation will open your mind to the therapeutic power that's been growing around us all along. Hello and welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. I'm thrilled to have Julie with me today from Little Brown Bottles, and she's going to be talking to us all about emotional aromatherapy. So thanks for joining us, Julie.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
I mentioned there emotional aromatherapy. Could we just start by letting the listeners know what the difference is between what they would consider traditional aromatherapy, emotional aromatherapy?
So emotional aromatherapy is a beautiful modality of using essential oils to help people to identify and essentially unstick emotions that may have got stuck or trapped or essentially unprocessed in their body. And so this could be things like, childhood trauma, or something, perhaps a pattern in their lives, an emotional pattern that's kept occurring for them. And over the years, what tends to happen is, unless people are able to talk about these things, but also feel the things that have happened to them, then what happens to our bodies is we can end up with physical illness and ailments and disease. And so it's a combination of using essential oils and talking therapy. And so essential oils are really powerful forms of medicine. And when we inhale and use an essential oil aromatically, what it does is it accesses the limbic part of our brain, which is where our emotions are processed and stored. And it can help release potentially stuck emotions. And in releasing those stuck emotions and in talking about them with somebody, it can help people find relief from any physical illness and ailments they've been having.
Okay, so that makes sense. So it sort of enhances that talk therapy area because it enables you to access things that maybe you couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a combination of talking therapy, and then also your body kind of intuitively knows what to do. And the blends of oils that I work with have been designed to work on different parts of our energy body, our physical body. And so there's a particular sort of set of blends that I work through, generally in order. And we always start with an oil that helps people to open their hearts and soften into the experience. And there's a lot there around learning how to forgive not only the person who's receiving the treatment and the therapy, but also the people in their lives who, the reason that led them to come and seek some alternative therapies in the first place. And then over 6 sessions, we work towards going through the different layers of the body. And in recent years, I've started combining it with the breath as well. So I use emotional aromatherapy and breath work together to really help empower people to heal.
Yeah, amazing. And how did you discover that this even existed?
Yeah, so I discovered essential oils just in a very basic sense back in, I think it was 2018, and I'd been working a lot. I was really stressed out. I was drinking quite a lot, and I had this sense that I needed to do something differently.
Yeah.
I'd been prescribed antidepressants at the start of 2018. And so I found that whilst I was able to sort of function better than I had for a little while, I still had this feeling that something wasn't quite right. I was seeing a nutritional therapist who introduced me to essential oils, and it was literally like a little switch went off in my brain. And I was amazed at the different things that they could do to help me. Simple things from helping me to sleep better to perhaps helping me to boost my endorphins and feel better. And so I went on this whole journey of, I suppose, self-discovery and exploration with them. And I read all the books, and I did lots of little like online courses and learning. And actually what the essential oils for me did back then was that they helped me to kind of build my own strength and resilience before I then decided to reduce my antidepressant medication and ultimately come off them a year later. I found they were a real sense of support for me, actually. And then when I did start to come off the antidepressants, what I found was that some of those symptoms, I don't know if any of your listeners have experienced this, but they can be quite tough when you first start to reduce your dosage. And so the essential oils really stepped in and helped me to manage some of those symptoms. So that was the first step on my journey, I suppose.
That's really interesting. So the essential oils helped you while you were on
Yeah.
the medication, but also obviously helped you with other symptoms you had as you were coming off. Do you think that was also that kind of feeling there was something consistent the whole time? So you weren't coming off everything. You still had something to kind of hold on to.
Yeah, I think that's a really lovely
Feel safe.
reflection, actually. And I think that they really did feel like, I almost felt some days I couldn't leave home without them. Over the years, I've experienced, varying levels and degrees of panic and anxiety. And so for the first time, I felt that I had a toolkit that I could take with me. So if I was, I don't know, in the supermarket and suddenly felt a bit overwhelmed, then I could just pop a little bit of lavender on my wrists and just have a little smell. And then everything kind of felt okay. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yes.
And it wasn't, I've used various things over the years to help me feel better. And to be honest, most of them haven't been for my best self. And so to find something that was really good for me that helped me feel better, and it wasn't picking up a glass of wine, that was really lovely.
Yeah, our go-tos can be quite self-destructive, can't
Yeah,
they?
absolutely. Yeah. I guess I was stressed out, working a lot, taking antidepressants. I was still drinking alcohol, and then essential oils just came in and just sort of softened everything a little bit. And I found yoga as well. And then I think the following year was when I started to obviously use the essential oils to help me manage the withdrawal from antidepressants. And then by the end of that year, by the end of 2019, I was free from all of the symptoms of antidepressants and their withdrawal. And then I was ready to look at my relationship with alcohol. And again, essential oils were a really big part of my sobriety journey. And I'm now 5.5 years sober, but certainly those early days, I really attribute the success of my sobriety to many things, but essential oils have been this kind of constant thread.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing how powerful something like an essential oil could be. So from my perspective, where I've come across aromatherapy, it's sort of more, I don't know, joss sticks, or as you say, like if you're smelling something, if you've got a cold. I know we've got a bit of a cold at the moment.
Glad to go. I've been gargling with oregano this morning just to help.
Oh,
It's very
lovely.
antimicrobial. Yeah.
Yeah, we were joking before we started the recording that Julie has this beautiful set of alternative ways to improve her cold at the moment, and I just quickly grabbed a Lemsip from the cup.
It's all good. There's no judgment. Whatever works.
So yes, I have a way to go in terms of exploring this area. So it's fantastic to hear these practical applications. But certainly something like sobriety, I wouldn't have expected something like an essential oil to help. Because as I say, from where I'm coming from, it's more of a sort of nice to have, or, the potential when you've got something quite lower level going on. So it sounds like it helped, depression and sobriety and those kinds of things. They're quite, they're big, they're heavy,
Yeah.
they really affect the whole body.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating to hear. You said a nutritionist introduced you to those things. At what point did you feel that you had your own toolkit and you wanted to share that with other people?
So I think so I got obviously sober at the end of 2019, and then lockdown, of course, hit in March 2020. And I was newly sober, and but being completely honest, it was a difficult time to stick with my sobriety because the support groups that I've been going to had all stopped. So I went to a sort of cognitive-based behavioural therapy support group to help with that, and that obviously all went away for a while. And so again, essential oils were there. But then it was later on in 2020 that I discovered emotional aromatherapy as a modality. So a lovely lady called Rachel, who runs the Cambridge College of Holistic Health, was advertising for this emotional aromatherapy course. And to be honest, I didn't fully understand what I was, signing up to, but I felt a very strong calling to go and deepen my knowledge of essential oils because they'd been, such a big part of the last kind of 18 months for me. And so obviously it was online because it was lockdown. And it was here that I learned more about our bodies as a whole system. So emotional aromatherapy has its roots in Chinese medicine. And so it looks at the 5 elements, and it also looks at our circadian rhythm and our body clocks, and how if we are experiencing, I don't know, food slumps or tiredness or insomnia at different times of the day, then it can usually be attributed to an imbalance within our bodies. And so that was sort of underpinning all of that. So I really loved learning all about that. But what I particularly learned was that as part of the course, obviously we had to experience what it was like to do emotional aromatherapy. And so I remember the first week and the first blend of oils we had, so much stuff just came up. And I was just I felt like I was releasing and revisiting things that I thought I'd, processed and healed. But it came up again in a whole new light. But then what was really lovely was that there was an oil for that. The plants, because, we come from nature, don't we, ultimately? We're all kind of part of this beautiful earth, and the plants that grow and the trees and the flowers are all here to help us. And so being able to learn about which oils and which blends help people with different parts of their sort of energy systems, it was such a gift, actually. And then, we had to do several case studies over several months and write all of that up.
It's really interesting. And would you find then that you did the therapy first and then the healing would then continue with the aromatherapy, or is it used at the same time?
But simultaneously. So you work with the oils and conversation and talking at the same time.
Right.
So, yeah, typically, just to give you a kind of sense of what a block of sessions would look like. And in fact, I'm going to use a lady that I worked with at the end of last year into the beginning of this year, just to give a sense of what emotional aromatherapy did for her. And I
Okay.
think that probably gives it a bit of context. So a lady came to see me. She got in touch at the end of last year because she'd had long COVID and shingles, and she'd been really poorly. And she was left with chronic asthma, and she was really struggling with her breathing. And so just before Christmas, I sent her a blend of essential oils, which my aromatherapy teacher had actually used herself to cure her asthma, and a form of breath work for her to practice, which started to make a bit of a difference. And then in the new year, she signed up for a block of 6 sessions. Now, when she first came to see me, she was on all sorts of nighttime medication to help with her sleeping, because she wasn't sleeping at all. She really couldn't breathe, actually, and sometimes just the slightest movements would cause horrendous spasms and coughing fits.
Oh.
Her whole diaphragm would just like go into spasm and almost constrict, and so she couldn't get the breath through. So she was signed off sick. So she was really poorly. And none of the medicine, the steroids, the inhalers, the Ventolin that she had been given by the consultant at the hospital was helping her. And so I started working with her with essential oils, with this sort of, this protocol, if you like, to start to at least unlock some of what might be being held in her body. And over the 6 sessions that she saw me, she completely reversed her asthma. She came off all of her medication that was prescribed by the consultant. She learned how to use her breath to manage the symptoms of her asthma, and the blends of essential oils that we worked with, as well as, talking. So there was, an element of talking therapy as part of our time together. As I say, the end result was that she reversed her asthma, and she's back at work. She went back to work in April. And she's no longer taking any of the medication that the consultant prescribed for her because it didn't work for her. So yeah, that's been quite a huge thing for her, actually.
Yes. Yeah. And seeing that you can make such a difference to people's lives must be so rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It's really lovely. It is really lovely.
And do you mix up the essential oils yourself?
Yeah, the set that I work with are a pre-blended set of oils, and that's very much for my emotional aromatherapy clients. But actually what I do sort of within little brown bottles, which is my aromatherapy business, I create all sorts of blends myself. So I have blends for grounding and balance, for managing sleep, for energizing and uplifting. And I've also got a lovely blend of chakra essential oils that help work on the 7 chakras, which are lovely for yogis and retreats. And I also have some nice aura sprays. So yeah, so I very much blend and create my own oils. Therapeutically, I tend to stick with what I learned about and what I was taught.
Yeah.
But actually, I also, if I need to, I will work instinctively and intuitively to give people something different if I feel they need it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And excuse my ignorance, but as with anything like this, presumably there's like very strict guidelines around what you can and can't give to people. Or I guess I'm coming from a place of, if they can have such a strong effect on people, do you know where those boundaries are of individual?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are contraindications to using certain oils, particularly if people are on different medications. And so the first session is always doing a full medical history and check. So yeah, absolutely, safety and adverse reactions, although they're not common, they can occur. But again, it's a little bit like, more traditional medicine, in that what works for one person is not going to work for another person. And we're all so unique in our makeup that actually, my biggest advice for the people that I work with is listen to your own bodies. And I think people are forgetting how to trust what feels right.
Yeah.
And people are forgetting that it's okay if your body feels tired. It's okay to rest. It's okay if you have a headache. And I think we have this mentality that we need fixing. And somehow if we go to the doctors, we're going to get fixed. We're not broken.
Yeah.
We don't need fixing. We just need to remember that our bodies have an incredible capacity to heal themselves. And for me, when I work with plants and essential oils, that's a really gentle but powerful way to help people remember that everything, we have to heal ourselves is within us. And by using, the right blend of oils, and also just giving yourself the time and space to acknowledge that perhaps there are areas of your life that you need to revisit or address. That in itself is huge from a healing and well-being point of view.
I love that approach. It's so important, isn't it? And as you say, we just kind of block ourselves off and it's all powering through and
don't
ignoring everything that's going on. But one thing I want to pick up on that I think is important is it sounds like as much as, it can be safe to use essential oils, having the guidance of somebody like yourself is still important. And you do harm by just buying random things off the internet and assuming you're healing yourself? Or is it not going to do you any harm, but it's just going to take your money?
Yeah, this is a quite a big question. And I think different people would have different perspectives. My personal view is that as long as you're not kind of ingesting oils left, right and centre, and if you say, for example, you walk into a shop and you'd like some help sleeping and you buy a nice sleep blend, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So lavender and cedarwood and ylang ylang is not going to kill anybody. So I think listen to your body. If you have a reaction to it, stop using it. If it gives you a headache, drink some water and try again. If it still gives you a headache, maybe that oil isn't for you. Again, I think we can be afraid of taking our power back. I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of nature and all of the beautiful, plants and trees that grow. And yes, I know some are poisonous and all the rest of it, but oils that you buy in shops are considered safe to use. I think if you want to work therapeutically with either a clinical aromatherapist and absolutely, or an emotional aromatherapist such as myself, then I think the guidance is good. But for kind of day-to-day stuff, I don't think you can go too far wrong, my personal view.
Yeah. I guess it's always, like if you're putting it on your skin, just as you say, be aware of.
Yeah. So for example, citrus oils will cause sun sensitivity. So you shouldn't put citrus oils on your skin and then go in the sun. So for 12 hours, so that there's some kind of stuff around that, which may or may not be on labels that you buy in the shops. I don't actually know. I've not had a look, but yeah. So knowing some stuff about that can be helpful. Definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So coming back to the emotional aromatherapy,
Yeah.
Your personal experience sounds incredibly powerful. Do you find when people are bringing up issues when they're talking to you on a daily basis, you just kind of wanted to say, but try this?
Yeah. So there's something very much there about trusting the process and actually just the fact that they're being given some space to be heard. What I find when most people come and sit in front of me or even through Zoom is that they've not carved out any time for themselves to sit and just share with another human what's going on for them.
Yeah.
And so, when we get together and they just have that space and somebody's there to really listen to them and without wanting to fix them, like I said, we're not broken. We just need to remember how to be who we are. And so I think there's something quite subtle there about just giving people the space to come and experience who they are. And again, the oils really help bring people out of themselves. They bring things, to the surface that perhaps need to be healed. And they also help people remember, what they used to love to do. where their creativities and passions lies. Kind of, it becomes so much more than the reason they walked through the door.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds absolutely fantastic. And have you had anyone skeptical about the aromatherapy side of it? Like,
No, people have been, yeah, sort of fully in terms of the oils. I think if people don't use them, so the idea is you work with an oil for 2-3 weeks, and then you come back and see me and we have another chat and we work with another oil. So we kind of work through, as I say, these 6 sessions, if you like. That seems to be the magic number. And people can find it difficult to find the time to incorporate the oils into their daily practice, into their life. And so it's recommended that you sit with your oil and you apply it like to the palm of your hand, you rub your hands together, and then you sit and you just breathe really slowly through your nose. And as a minimum, I'd recommend people find 5 minutes in the morning to do that, 5 minutes at lunchtime, and 5 minutes at the end of the day. And generally what I find is that people can manage the morning and the evening, and then sometimes in the middle of the day, life gets busy, and that's okay. So whatever you can do is better. You get the most from it by making the time for you. And then what I find is that people will then say, well, and then I did a short meditation on calm, and then I went for a walk, and so what it does by just starting really small, with, a blend of essential oils in 5 minutes at a time, it then opens up all of these possibilities because people start to feel better and they're like, well, what else can I do? So there are so many levels to what it gives people.
yeah, so lovely. So it opens a door in a way to really looking after themselves or being more open to self-care in other ways.
Yeah.
So that's lovely. Is there anything else that you find works for you?
Yeah. And so, I think I followed this path that the people that I work with seem to follow, which is I started with essential oils. And then, by sitting with the oils, that then turned into a 10-minute meditation. And then, my yoga practice increased because I was feeling better. I then went and did my breathwork training 2 years ago now, I think. And so I'd add a breathwork to it, or sometimes I just get up and go and watch the sunrise. I also work with cacao as well. So some mornings it will be a cacao and a meditation and some essential oils. So I think there are so many lovely things that you can access that there's not a right approach. I think, my single biggest message to anybody listening would be just find what you love, find what makes you feel better. Whether that's, tapping or yoga, walking or meditating or essential oil, the list goes on, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's the perfect approach, isn't it? Know yourself, know your body, know how you react to things, and find what makes you feel good and what you can turn to in those moments where you're not feeling so great.
Yeah.
So wonderful. So you've touched on there about some of your services that you offer, and I believe you've got your online store, obviously, and you've got some wellness workshops coming up.
Yes. So in September, I'm going to be doing a monthly essential oils education workshop in Rugby. I'll be teaching people how to use essential oils to make skincare products, clean their house, sleep with, manage low mood and anxious feelings. So there'll be a different theme each month. So I'm very excited about that all coming together. And I pretty much use essential oils in all sort of areas that I work with. And so when I hold women's circles and work with cacao, essential oils are always a big part of that. And also with breath work as well. I always use essential oils to help people ground in at the end of their breathwork session. So, yeah, for me, there's not much that an essential oil can't do.
Yeah, fantastic. It sounds like they're woven in.
They are. They're absolutely woven in. Yeah, you can go around my house and there will be a bottle of oil somewhere on any given surface at any one time.
Wonderful. And so those listeners who are a bit further away,
it's thelittlebrownbottles.co.uk, and I have a sum up store as well, which is where you can access that from my website. So yeah, it's all on there.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be sure to include all the relevant links in the show notes. So if people want to keep in touch with Julie, hear more about emotional aromatherapy or some of the products or services that she has available, then have a look in the show notes and join her mailing list or follow the links to the shops. So thank you so much, Julie. That's been incredibly helpful, certainly for me, to expand my knowledge on emotional aromatherapy, but I hope everybody else has enjoyed it too.
Thank you for having me. It's been really lovely to chat.
I have to say, this conversation with Julie has completely shifted how I think about aromatherapy. What I thought was simply about pleasant scents and relaxation is actually a profound therapeutic modality that can support everything from emotional healing to chronic illness recovery. Julie's personal transformation story is so inspiring. From needing antidepressants and struggling with alcohol to finding her strength through essential oils and maintaining over 5 years of sobriety. Wow. But what really moved me is how she's now channeling that healing into supporting others through their own journeys. That client story about reversing chronic asthma through emotional aromatherapy gave me goosebumps. When conventional medicine wasn't working, this gentle approach to combining essential oils with emotional release and breathwork created complete healing. It's such a beautiful example of treating the whole person, not just the symptoms. I love how Julie emphasises trusting our bodies and remembering that we have everything we need within us. In a world that often makes us feel broken and in need of fixing, her approach is about remembering our innate wholeness and capacity for healing. The idea that just 5 minutes with an essential oil can open doors to meditation, yoga, walks in nature, and so many other wellness practices feels both manageable and magical. Sometimes the smallest keys unlock the biggest transformations. It is important to remember that this is a complementary approach, and as Julie mentioned, aromatherapy is not always suitable for everyone. People with certain medical conditions and those who are pregnant, or anyone with specific medications, should always consult their healthcare professionals and qualified aromatherapists before beginning. Listen to your body. It knows what it needs, and it knows when it's not right. You'll find Julie at Little Brown Bottles for both therapeutic work and those lovely educational workshops she mentioned. All her details are in the show notes. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, there's many paths to wellness, and sometimes they start with trusting our bodies already know how to heal. They just need gentle reminders from nature.